We welcome you to Spaced Out Radio, off the trails. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We really appreciate the love. Shout out to Bumblefoot for that amazing intro music. Once again, I always appreciate that. You guys can follow us at Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You guys can find me at thecryptidhuntress.com, and please subscribe to my amazing YouTube channel. It's The Cryptid Huntress, and I have live shows there every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern, and on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, where I have a remote viewing show that will knock your socks off. You guys come hang out with me there. And like and subscribe and share my videos out if you would, please. That would really help everything that I do over here. Okay, also, I have a shop. It's called War Woman Goods. That's on Etsy. And if you'd like to become a member of my Patreon, that would be amazing as well. Okay, you guys, I have a fantastic guest here at Spaced Out Radio tonight. You guys are going to recognize his name. I have Donny Cho in the studio tonight. Don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has a really great program set up for you tonight. So let's get to our guest tonight. All right, Donny Cho is a researcher, an amazing researcher, and co-host at Jason Mclean Questions Everything over there on Texas Front Porch. And so I have him here with me tonight. Please help me welcome to the show, Mr. Donny Cho. Hey, Donny.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Hi.
Hey. You know what? I just realized I have the microphone on. So here we go.
Yeah.
Hopefully my microphone will be better now.
So much better now.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you. Whoever in the chat just said that. I saw that. I had not checked my microphone today. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's working better now. Donny, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Oh my gosh, I've seen you in Spaced Out Radio chats so many times. And now we finally get to put a face with the name.
Yep, here I am.
Yeah, here you
Hi,
are.
everybody in the chat.
Hey.
It's me. It's that guy. Yeah, I know.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I am so excited. You've been on my show, the Cryptid Huntress channel. We have talked about some really interesting cryptids over the past couple of weeks, including the Beast of Javaudan over in France. And then this week we just talked about, what was the one that we just did? That was
The Jersey Devil.
The Jersey Devil. That's right. The Jersey Devil. Because you are from New Jersey. So
I am.
that was a wild one. Let me tell you, those were a couple of fantastic remote viewing targets. And you do the best research. You really do. So
It's not. I wouldn't say I do the best research. I feel like I digest a story and I try to figure out like a very relatable way of explaining it. You know, that's what I go for, at least, because I mean, I wish I had the time to do like a lot more research than I can do, given, you know, because we all have lives, right? We're all busy people. So unfortunately, my time is very limited. So it's a lot of internet searching. It's a lot of Google searches. It's a lot of YouTube, a little Wikipedia here and there, you know.
oh yeah,
But
we all use a little Wikipedia.
we're all limited, you
Especially,
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially when we don't know what the heck we're talking about, like I do with some of these targets that I'm doing. I go to Wikipedia sometimes. It's the first thing that pops
Sometimes you
up.
gotta.
Sometimes you got to.
Don't judge
Yeah.
us, people.
Don't
Please.
judge us. It's part of doing the
We're
research,
busy.
you know. Yeah, exactly. We're a little busy. Some of us are a little busy, a little here and there. But yeah, you know what? I am excited to talk about something completely different tonight. Something that I have never. It's not that I've never heard of some of these paranormal events, I guess, and Korean shamanism, for instance. You sent me a video today that really kind of blew my mind a little bit, and I started making some connections in the back of my head to some things that we have going on here in the United States, and let's just get into it tonight, Donny. How about it?
Yeah,
Let's
let's do
talk
it.
about some of these Asian paranormal stories right out of Asia, and that includes Korea, China, all the Asian countries over there. There's way more than that.
Well, one of the things I noticed, one of the first things I noticed about the paranormal community in going into all these shows was that you don't really hear too many stories coming out of different continents. It's usually America, sometimes Europe. Why aren't there African paranormal stories? You got to imagine Africa has to have so many
Yeah.
cryptids, so many hauntings. There's voodoo. There's like this old history. There's curses. There's ancient creatures,
Yeah.
right? But we don't hear any stories coming out of Africa. Why is that, right?
Yeah.
Also, like India, they have so many crazy cryptids and hauntings and everything.
Yeah. And interesting
So
gods and things like that with
there's so much stuff going
multiple
on.
arms and stuff. Yeah.
So when I first got into the paranormal community, right, there was a point where I kind of figured out that my, I guess, great grandmother was a Korean shaman.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I started getting real curious, and through studying about Korean shamanism, I got to learn about, oh, there's this whole other perspective on the paranormal, the Asian perspective that nobody talks about. Because
Okay.
people in Asia aren't nowadays aren't really interested in the paranormal.
Okay.
Not
I, you
not
know,
normally, you
well,
know.
okay.
So
I can attest to that. I do know I have an aunt from Korea,
mhm,
and she and her sisters and mother, all as they came from North Korea. They'd lived in South Korea for a while
yeah,
and escaped to South Korea actually. And I believe her father and some of their brothers were left in North Korea, and to make a living, her mother she had very big psychic abilities, and she became a fortune teller. And from what I understand, she would read palms and do fortune telling and things like that. And they don't even talk about it anymore at all. It was actually kind of, they came to America and
they scrubbed
came
it. They redacted
scrubbed
it,
it
right? Yep.
completely as though
It got redacted
and
from my
looked down
family
on it
history
now.
too. Yep.
Yeah, it's actually looked down upon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure how they feel about me doing my remote viewing and things like that. I've never asked, but yeah, it's like it never happened. But that's
It's
how
like
she
that with my
survived
family
and
too.
fed her children for a long time was by doing psychic readings and things like that. Yeah,
Would she do like exorcisms and stuff too?
I'm not sure. I didn't. I never heard that part. She might
Hmm.
have. I don't know. Could have been. You know what? I'll ask. I'll ask if they'll tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Um, so so because I found out about that connection, I started getting really curious about the paranormal, like the Asian paranormal stories, and it's not really easy to research because there are not too many books available. Um, oh, thank you. I'll take the compliment. Anyway,
You do kick butt.
but one of the things that I realized upon researching all these stories is that there's a lot of things that it offers such a different point of view, and it offers. Let me give you a real cool example, okay?
Okay.
Iron. I've always heard in the paranormal community there's something about iron, right? Like wear an iron bracelet on your left arm to ward off like evil spirits trying to enter your body.
Mm-hmm.
Iron weapons. Those are the kind of weapons that Bigfoot and Dogman and cryptids seem to fear the most. Anything made of iron seems to like hurt them or something like it's their
Yeah.
kryptonite. In Korean shamanism, they I showed you that video, right? They
Yes.
were dancing around, they were singing, they were doing all these rituals, but when you look around the room, there are all these like iron blades. And then they're very specific. It has to be iron, right? Because evil spirits, they all fear iron. And it's one of those connections that I saw through looking at the Asian side where I'm like, yo, there's something to this whole iron thing. I think we figured
Yeah.
out their kryptonite, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, it's the same with vampires and
Yeah.
a lot of different cryptids. They don't like iron or they're I don't know. It is their
It's
kryptonite, right?
something to be
Yeah.
seriously considered, I think.
It is. It is. Well, interesting. So when you were growing up, you knew that your grandmother, you said it was your grandmother,
I
right? Was
don't know. I
a
didn't I
shaman?
didn't know that growing up. It was through a table tipping session. Okay, so
Okay.
the way it went down, I was at this place called the Hoover House, right? It's like this legendary haunted. like mansion, right? And there were all these people there, some very well-known people in the community. These were older folks. They were, some of them were like actual mediums and psychics and people with, I mean, they're all with abilities. And I was not even there to partake. I was just kind of hanging out with my friends, and I just happened to be there, right? So I'm just kind of in the back, sitting on a couch, being the NPC, right?
Right. The
And then
NPC.
during the session, all of a sudden, one of the guys, so he was like this medium, he stands up out of nowhere and he looks at me and he points, he's like, "You, sir, right there, you." He's like pointing at me. I'm like zoning out at this point. I'm like, "What? Me?" He's like, "You need to come to the table right now." And I'm like, "Why?" And so he explains to me that during this whole session, they're able to see all the entities, right? They're all the spirits that come in and out. They're mediums. And the majority of them were like the spirits in the household. But as people are doing the table tipping session, their family members are coming in and they're communicating with them, right? And then the mediums actually, more than one told me, because they all experienced this out of the blue. This old Asian lady wearing this like white gown, right? And he
Yeah.
described it as like this white shawl with like a cloak, but with like it was like a white hood. It was like
Okay.
pointed, right? And I was like, well, that's a shaman's outfit. And he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
she's saying that she's your great grandmother. And as soon as she landed, all the other ghosts, they all just cleared out of the building. Like
Oh.
she just like interrupted the whole session. All the family members, all the ghosts of the house, they all just got exploded out of the room.
Oh,
And then she
wow. That's
landed. They're
powerful.
like, you gotta talk to her. And then she explained how, yeah, I'm like your great grandmother on your mother's side. And I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting because that whole part on my mother's side was redacted. So
Wow. Wow, that's very powerful, actually.
yeah,
So, yeah, redacted, blacked out,
it
like
was
it never
redacted
happened.
because my mom's side of the family, they're all very Christian, very like conservative Christians.
Yeah, that's how my aunt's family is as well now,
Yeah,
and so yeah,
that's
it's
how it
almost
goes. That's how
yeah,
it
it's just
goes.
hush hush
Yeah.
now, and and you got to respect it, but you also have to wonder why, is it because it's just so powerful? They're worried about what people are going to think, or what
I
do you
mean, they are
think?
messing with like evil spirits and stuff.
Yeah.
And I heard actually as a kid growing up, I did hear stories about the shamans as a
Hmm.
kid growing up. I didn't hear about anyone related to me, but I grew up in an all Korean church, right?
Uh huh.
And my pastor, he grew up in Korea, and he would tell us these stories, right? This guy's
Yeah.
a Presbyterian, Lutheran, or Calvinist pastor. Went to Yale. He told me that one day he was like a little kid living in this high-rise apartment building. And the way Korea's
Hmm.
set up, it's like you have these traditional buildings and these like modern high-rise apartment buildings like all smushed together because the land is so small. So what he said when he was a kid, he was living in this high-rise apartment and it was like overlooking this old run-down traditional Korean courtyard style home. And in the middle was this old lady, this shaman who was doing like this ritual dance and getting all possessed.
Yeah.
And he said he was like looking down at her from like the 12th floor. And then he told me that she stopped dancing all of a sudden. And then she slowly turned and looked at him. And their gazes met. And he said that he felt a sensation of cold like he had never felt before, where it came out from like within his body outwards. Not like usually when you're cold, it's on the surface, but he was like, this came out from like my bones. And he said it was like the
Ooh.
scariest moment of his life.
Oh, it's almost like she was sucking his soul out of his body
Like
or
she
something.
knew that he was like looking at her from
Yes.
like he was 20, like 12, 20, whatever feet up in a
Oh
modern
my
high rise
gosh.
apartment building. She's in this open courtyard, old South Korean home that's just smushed up next to it.
Oh my
And
God.
she
It was like
stops and
this. I
just looks
see
at
you.
him.
Yeah. I see you. Wow. That's terrifying. That's really
It's
scary.
scary.
I bet he didn't look out his window anymore for a while. Uh, I wouldn't. Yeah. There's something very ritualistic about the shamanism, of course, and that video that you sent me today, that was wild. Okay, like I gotta say, like I was
Yeah.
super hyped up. Like, wow, this woman that they were highlighting was very powerful. Uh, I was really vibing with it. And then
And
and then
then
I and
and
then and
then
then I saw the pig thing, and she was I won't say wiling out is what I'm going
she
to
was
call it.
doing things to that pig. She
She
was
was
doing
doing things
things.
to this pig with
Yeah.
knives and things like that. We won't get into details, but the organs were out of it, and she was eating them and rubbing them all over her and stuff like
Yeah, they
that.
don't mess around.
It was very shocking for just a second. I was like, "What am I?" I had to go back and rewind it because I was confused as to what I was watching for a
You know, they
second.
have this one messed up rule, okay?
Okay, what's the
If
rule?
your family is under paranormal attack, like you got a demon, right? The
Okay.
deal is they will come and they will expel it, and it's like it'll guarantee to work. Here's their price, though. Anyone who's being possessed or attacked, they have to become a shaman themselves.
The ones who
They
are
have to join the
attacked have to
ranks.
become. Okay.
Like if you're ever
Okay.
like possessed by a demon, they come along. They're like, yeah, we'll do an exorcism, but that person who's possessed, she's got to join our ranks now.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Otherwise, we're not
Interesting.
helping you.
Okay, so the alternative is to stay possessed, I
Stay
guess, right?
possessed then. Or like go
Yeah.
to the church then. Have fun. Good luck with that, you know?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, this the woman was actually she was I wasn't understanding if she was doing that for show or if this was, I mean, I don't think she does anything for show purely. I think this woman is really deep in the shamanism. Uh, but that was wild. It was almost like it was she seemed possessed herself for a second there, you know. So yeah,
It kind
I
of
guess
matches
you
up with
gotta
the
be one to
Bible
know
though,
one.
because the whole
Yeah.
idea behind that ritual is one of the things they do when someone is possessed for an exorcism is they would take the evil spirit out and put it in the body of a pig. Kind of like how Jesus did with those like 40.
Oh.
I mean, he didn't put them, he just kind of told them to go somewhere and they went there, but it's kind of a similar idea. And I'm like,
Okay.
maybe there's something going on there.
Yes. So that's interesting. Okay, well, we have shamans here in North America. Well, we have the Native Americans here. Actually, William Nighthawk is a shaman,
Hmm.
and he's able to perform exorcisms, perhaps, and things like that. So this is something that's not just regional in one place in the world. This is all over the world. There are shamans, and people are getting possessed, and
It
here
happens a
in
lot more
America as
often than you
well.
think. It happens a lot more often than you
It
think.
does. And I always, I wonder sometimes, it seems as though the only people we hear about getting possessed are people in the Catholic Church and the Catholic priests going to do exorcisms. But I don't know. And maybe there's something to it. I think there's people all over being possessed, and maybe they don't realize they're being possessed, because that's not a religion they follow. What do you think?
I've got a pretty messed up story actually. Um, so this didn't happen to me. This happened to one of my best friends who was living in Korea. Um, I spent 10 years living in Korea as an English teacher, but about a year before I first arrived, this guy who was like one of my dearest friends there, he lived when he first arrived in Korea. He came
Hmm.
the apartment they set him up with. First of all, he's a white guy from Washington D.C. Never been to Asia before. He's there. He flew there for the job, right?
Okay.
He doesn't know the language. He doesn't know anything. He literally just arrived in this country, and the company that he's working for, they set him up in this random apartment in like this grungy area of Seoul. And when they tries to move in, this place is a disheveled mess, right? He's got two helpers from his office helping him clear everything out, helping him move in. While he's doing that, he moves the refrigerator, and behind the refrigerator on the wall is this yellow, I guess, paper. It looks like construction paper, and there's like this
Hmm.
ancient Chinese writing on it. And he's like, "Oh, what is this? Oh, whatever." And then he just grabs it and he just rips it off the wall. And
Uh
as soon as
oh.
he does that, he told me that those two Korean helpers who were helping him, they both, because they were Korean. They looked at him. He said they went white. They saw what he did, and they just said, "You weren't supposed to do that," and they just backed out of the room.
Then what happened to
He
him?
had no clue what he had just done, right? No idea, because to him it
Okay.
was just a piece of paper, right?
Was it protection, perhaps? Maybe someone had protected his home?
Well, he proceeds to tell me that throughout his year living there, he could not have a single guest stay the night.
Okay.
Everyone would run out of the place screaming. He had a girlfriend at the time, and he said, like, when she would try to stay at his place, she would leave. She's like, I can't stay here. He had friends visiting from the states who would stay
Oh,
with
yeah.
him. They would leave and go to a hotel. It was like actually affecting his social life. It was that bad. The weird thing was, he himself never experienced a thing. That was the
Oh,
weirdest thing, right?
wow. Maybe he was protected in some way. I think there's some people on Earth are protected from stuff like that. Perhaps I don't know.
So the craziest, the craziest experience he said anyone ever had in that place. So he had his girlfriends sleeping there,
Uh
and
huh.
while they were sleeping, she woke up in the middle of the night, like she's lying flat on her back on the bed, right? She is face to face with like this angry looking old man,
Okay.
and she realizes that his body is basically hanging down from the ceiling by its feet, and it's like elongated, and his like face is right up to her face.
Almost like a bat or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, she screams, she flips out. My buddy wakes up, he turns around, the lights go on, he's like, what? He doesn't see a thing, but she's out of there. No more, right?
Yes.
It just got
That's
crazy like
scary.
that. Now here's the
Okay.
thing. So he tells me this story, and now we're working together, and he tells me the story. One day I'm talking to like this group of students, right? They're business people, college students, and I'm telling them the story because I'm curious about that. What was that yellow paper with the red writing, right? So I asked this group of like Korean adults, so what was that paper? And they all said, "Oh, he wasn't supposed to rip that." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And so they all proceed to take out like their wallets, and they all take out a piece of paper with that same style of Chinese writing on it. I was like, "What is this?" Apparently, it was some kind of binding rune. You know how runes work, like in like Celtic
Yes.
traditions?
Uh huh.
It's kind of like that. It was like a binding spell. So when he
Protection.
ripped it,
Yeah.
you know,
It. Uh oh. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, he might have thought it was evil or something, you know? I mean, who knows? I was thinking today, actually, I was just thinking when about, I guess it was about 10 years ago, we were on, I say we, I was newly married, about to have a baby and stuff, and we were in the market to look for a new home. And we were going. I had a friend, actually one of my Bigfooting friends. She has a realty company in Atlanta, and so she was taking us around to go look at homes. And first of all, I could feel the energy. I knew when someone had died in a house, and I did not want to live in a house where somebody had died, but I could pick up. I think being pregnant, I was like super pregnant at the time. I was about to have a
yeah.
baby, and my psychic abilities had been heightened big time. And Donnie, I was able to pick up on like people being in the homes when there was nobody there. So I knew that there were spirits lingering around, like elderly people and stuff. In some of the houses we were looking at, they were empty. Okay, they're supposed to be empty. But there was one house that we went to, and I noticed something felt off at this home. And I was walking around looking at it. On the banister, someone had left a rosary and had wrapped it around the banister, and that was my sign. I didn't touch it, and I didn't want to be there anymore because I felt like there was something. That house was haunted, and I think someone had left
Hmm.
that there. Personally, that I just had that feeling someone had left that there because that house was super
You
haunted.
got
There
to
was a
trust your
demon in
gut in
it or
that
something.
case. You have to, right?
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
other
Oh, yeah.
choice.
I was like,
Yeah.
this house is too cheap. There's something wrong with this thing. There's something. Oh, wait. It's haunted. There's a demon in the basement or something,
I feel like anyone who's like a prospective like home buyer should always have a psychic medium do a walkthrough before you consider making that purchase. I feel like that should be like a
Yeah.
regular thing in the whole real estate market. Have like, that's the perfect idea for a show. The psychic medium real estate agent.
You know what? That would not be a bad side gig for me. I think maybe I should think of
Yeah,
that. I could remote view people's
a
potential
psychic
homes.
real estate agent. How come no one's ever thought of that for like a show?
Hey, you know what? Maybe we can get that
Yeah.
going. Who knows? No, that's not a bad business to be in, you know. And a lot of times, there's actually a website you can go to, and you can type in the address of a home. And you can find out if someone had died in that property. That was one of the requirements when I was a kid, and we were moving to another town when my parents
Hmm.
divorced. My sister and brother and I, we told our mom we didn't want to live in a house where someone had died. So she specifically asked the realtors about deaths in the home. Yeah, we ended up buying like a 150-year-old parsonage for a local Presbyterian church or something.
Hmm.
It was super old, and but allegedly there had been no deaths there, but who knows? I don't think there were. But
So
yeah,
it didn't turn out to be haunted in the end.
it was not haunted.
All
No, it
right.
was never haunted. No. But since then, my brother died that was in that house though now. So now it's like, well, he didn't die in the house, but he passed away in a car accident while he was living there, you know. So, but you know, but that's my brother, so it's different.
I've also
I don't
heard
think
of
his ghost
people
is
who
there.
moving into like new buildings and new townhouses and stuff, having
Hmm.
those places being haunted, and they're like, "This doesn't make sense. This is a new building. Why would this place be haunted?" But then they don't
Because of
consider that it
land.
might be the land. Yeah,
It's absolutely the land. Yeah, I've lived
yeah.
in a very haunted house where I had blankets of flies on my ceiling at night in the hallway. I had dark masses floating through my house and knocking me down.
Blankets
And
of flies, really?
a
Whoa.
blanket twice. I had a blanket of flies on my ceiling. And this is not something I talk about super often, but I've definitely talked about it before publicly. Came home at night, and this was in the downtown district of downtown Atlanta. And I lived in the bar district, kind of where all the clubs were, like the Claremont Lounge and MJQ. You know, all these places where everybody would go, kind of seedy. You know what I'm saying? Not MJQ, but the Claremont Lounge was okay,
Hmm.
and all these other bars and stuff. And so when people would like come knocking on my door in the middle of the night and ringing my doorbell, I lived in a basement apartment of an old house. It would usually be a good friend of mine who just wanted to crash on my couch, you know. And there was a night where I had literally had a black eyed man show up at my door one night who all I can explain him was looking like he was like a soulless being who had pure black eye. His eyes were completely black. And he did not look like he belonged there at all. I had that happen. I had
Well, what
came
did you
home.
do?
I
Did
crept
you?
back through down my hallway and locked my door. He had to go down like a hallway to get to my apartment, and there was an outside door with a window on it up high, and he rang my doorbell, and I walked down the hallway and I peeked out, and it was that man. And so I just crept back in my apartment and shut the door. And I called a friend, and I was like, "Hey, listen out for me. There's some like alien dude at my
I
door. I
would
don't
have
know what this
armed up
is."
at that point. I
I
would have
did.
gone.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
always was. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, just
I'm
weird
like, yo,
stuff
it's
happened.
CQC time, baby. Take out like a knife and a gun and get into a stance, and
Yeah. Yeah, that's it was really scary.
that
And
must have been super scary, though.
it
Just
was. Well,
like just the fact that you're also vulnerable, but then that guy also looks soulless, and you just feel it. Like, and then there's the
yes.
security aspect, and then there's the psychic aspect. Yeah, that must have been scary on multiple levels.
Yes. It was okay, it was very scary. And there was one night that I came home with my friend Whitney. My friend Whitney was with me. And another person, we had another friend with us too. And when I heard a buzzing sound when I got to the door, the outside door, one night. We had been out at MJQ or somewhere, I don't know, one of those places around there. And we walked back to my apartment, and we got there, and I heard a strange buzzing noise, and I looked into the window, and I could see there was something on my ceiling, but I could not tell what it was. I was like, there's something weird in there. And I opened up the door, and there was literally a blanket of flies. And I'm talking about like the black flies, like the ones that you want
Like,
to
were you
get a
able
fly
to see
swatter
them
with.
clearly? Like, it was like
Yes.
a clear
It
black
it
mass
was
of
it
like
was
a
when I
bajillion
say
flies.
when I it was a bajillion. It was literally a blanket of flies that it was like it was probably an inch thick. You could like if I could have like pulled it down off the ceiling. I mean, it was like and they were buzzing, and we sat there for a minute trying to figure out what to do. I was like, well, do we go in? Like, I don't know why these flies would be in there. And
Hmm.
against our better judgment. There's no telling.
And
We
multiple people saw
probably had a
this
couple
too,
of
right?
beers. Yeah, there were two people with me. Yeah, and so we decided just to duck and run, and we kind of ducked and we ran. Even though they were up high, we ran to the door and I unlocked it. And we ran in and we slammed the door. Well, they ended up staying at my apartment that night. I was like, y'all aren't leaving. Y'all are staying right here. And because I was a little scared. I'm not gonna lie, it was weird. And
A
we heard that
blanket
buzzing
of
all
flies
night.
like that would be pretty jarring to
Yeah,
see.
it was
That's
it
the
was
last
odd.
thing anyone would expect to see in their home.
It was before we had cell phones with cameras on them. Okay, so it was a long time ago, and so I didn't get a video. I didn't get a picture. Normally today I would, but we got down to that door and we slammed it. We ended up all going to sleep that night, and the next morning they were gone. There was not a trace of the flies. They were completely gone. There was a couple of dead flies on the floor that had not been there before, and that was it. They were completely gone. And then there was two times that happened actually,
Hmm.
and someone was with me the second time that happened as well. And I also saw a vase levitate off my table at that apartment and sit in the air right in front of my face one night until it dropped to the ground. And it didn't break. And this was a very delicate glass vase with a flower in it.
Hmm.
So yeah, a lot of strange things happened at that place, but it was the land. The land there had been a battlefield during the Civil War, and a lot of bloodshed there. It was also part of Atlanta that had been burned down during the Civil War, things
Hmm.
like that. So it had a lot of
That did
energy.
happen.
Yeah, it did. So, and I also would have dreams of this old man in my apartment all the time. Like he would come and communicate with me through my dreams. So I knew it was him. It was
Hmm.
haunted. Yeah. But yeah, it's just I don't even know if it's because I'm psychic. There were other people experiencing these things too. It wasn't just me. But yeah,
Some places are just crazy haunted.
they are.
Yeah.
They're super haunted. They are. Well, you know what? I was thinking, let's talk about some cryptids out of
Hmm.
Korea. Do you guys have any really cool cryptids?
So there is one called Kumio. It's it's the same thing in Japanese. They call it Kitsune, the nine-tailed fox in Japan. It's the same general character, but their attitudes and folklore are very different about it because in Japan they see them as good spirits. In
Okay.
Korea, they're nothing but bad intention, evil. They just want to feed on people's livers or hearts. That's it.
Oh, kind of like Spearfinger. Spearfinger. The
Yeah,
witch, she likes
yeah.
to, that's a Cherokee legend. She likes to eat the livers of children.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's the
And
thing.
they
Livers must taste good to these bad spirits and stuff.
there's something about human livers,
There is. I wonder what that is.
but they also have a form where they're a humanoid but with a fox head, like a dog man, right? Like a
Okay.
bipedal dog, bipedal fox. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. They also describe them as being seen around graveyards. And the
Just
reason
like
why is
Dogman.
because they're looking to dig up bodies to try to get at some people's livers. The
Okay.
interesting thing, though, is the origin story because according to Korean shamanism, they believe that they start off as regular foxes. And this
Okay.
one regular fox gets possessed by this being, winds up living for like 1,000 years, and then eventually becomes like slowly evolves to become bipedal. And they were known to also be able to take the form of like beautiful women and seduce men, and yeah.
Okay. Oh, you know what? By the way, Penny, yes, I hope that's what it was. I hope that they were cluster flies and they invaded that house. I absolutely hope that, and that would be great. And yes, I lived right off Ponce, the body electric supplement. Absolutely. I lived off Ponce de Leon,
Hmm.
right across from the Claremont Lounge. So, yes, I totally did. Okay, so Donnie, I do have a picture that we can show the audience tonight. This is just a cartoonish kind of rendition of,
Well,
mhm.
nowadays, Kumio is like very romanticized and sometimes even sexualized because there's the whole the feminine aspect to it where
Uh-huh.
it would seduce men and lure them somewhere and then kill them and then take their livers.
And take their livers.
Yep.
Okay, so it's a shapeshifter then.
Yeah, like skinwalkers.
Okay, it's a skinwalker. Yeah, skinwalker is shapeshifter.
But
Interesting.
it starts off as a fox. Skinwalkers start off as a human. That's the main difference. There were a couple of
Ooh.
other interesting delivery.
This is actually an interesting comment, Donnie. So, Sweetly Morbid Bear, hey, she says, she believes the liver would store the most iron in it compared to other organs. We were just talking about iron.
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah,
maybe
interesting.
there's a
Interesting
connection.
comment.
Maybe
There
there's a
could be.
connection.
There could be.
Maybe we're onto something with this iron thing.
Probably. Maybe so. I don't know. Yeah. Well, it sounds like this. It's called Kumio, right? Is that how you
Yep.
pronounce it?
Yep.
It sounds like the Kumio is quite a. It sounds kind of like a seductress, right? A seductress siren kind of thing that will come in and trick you just to eat your liver, just like I believe Spearfinger does the same. What she does
Mhm.
is actually she will go and let's just say she kills somebody, okay, or it's usually a child or one of the child's parents, and eat their liver, and then she shapeshifts into that person's family. So if it's a kid, she turns into their, or she turns into that child to trick the parents, and then she kills the parents. So she's constantly shapeshifting to trick people to get in close to them so she can go in for the kill. Yeah. I've actually had, perhaps feel like I might have had an encounter with Spearfinger. I don't know, out in the field.
Really?
Her energy is deep in those woods out where we go
Hmm.
bigfooting. Yeah, when we're out there bigfooting. But it sounds kind of like she was seen as you said like a dog man, which is interesting.
Yeah. Well, a fox, bipedal fox, is what I read that it was described as. And yeah, really obsessed with livers, apparently.
Interesting.
And
So do
some
you guys
real interesting ghosts too. Um,
ghosts? Oh yeah.
yeah. So the weird thing about Korean shamanism, they're way more specific about what different types of ghosts are and like how you die and the circumstances in which you die affects like what kind of ghost you become or who becomes a ghost, all right? Now,
Okay.
case in point, not everyone who dies violently becomes a ghost. Some do, but not all, right? And not
Okay.
all people who die in their sleep don't not become ghosts. Some still do. It seems kind of random, right? There's some ghosts who are ghosts
Okay.
because they died violently. Other ghosts who are ghosts who just died of a disease or natural causes. There doesn't seem to be any pattern there, right? It just seems kind of
Mm-hmm.
random. Some people who die like in these murders seem to have moved on, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So
Well,
one of the things
earthbound
Korean
spirits
shamanism,
or
yeah.
non-earthbound. Yeah.
So one of the things that Korean shamanism explains is it's not so much the way they died or who dies, or it's the fact that they died in the way that they weren't fated to.
Ooh.
So
Not
everyone
their
has their
destiny
fated
then.
way to die. Like if you're destined to die in that murder, those are the people who move on. But if you're destined for something else and then you wind up dying in a murder, those are the people who wind up becoming ghosts.
Oh my gosh. But see, that's not their fault though, right? Unless they commit suicide. Is that what you're saying?
Some people are destined for that too.
That's true. Okay. So what
Yeah, it's just
how do you know though? Do you have to go into your Akashic records, or I guess you don't know, right?
but that's one of the things that they explain. I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense
Yeah.
actually. That kind of makes sense in the way that I see now why it seems so random sometimes, like who is ghost and who moves on, right? It
Yeah.
depends on. It doesn't matter about how violent it is or how sad it is.
Yeah. Well, I don't that's interesting to think about. You want to think that everybody goes to heaven if you believe in that, you know. And by the way, happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter. This is Easter evening, so tomorrow's Easter. I hope the Easter bunny comes and sees everybody tonight, by the way, and brings lots of candy. I know my son's looking forward to that in the morning, but Yeah, you'd like to think that when we die, I grew up in a Christian family, and we
Mhm.
believe that when you die, you go to heaven, right? Now, I happen to believe in reincarnation, okay, and I do believe that I've been here many lifetimes personally myself, and so sometimes I've wondered, like, are more advanced souls the ones that move on, or is it just people that are like don't know they're dead, that kind of a thing? I mean, I don't know,
See,
Donnie.
I believe in both. I believe in heaven and hell
Hmm.
and in reincarnation. Why does it
Yeah.
have to be one or the other? I believe in
Yeah,
both.
exactly, right? Me too.
Yeah.
I believe there's a heaven. I think we go to heaven and we're reincarnated too. You know what? Whenever anybody asks me a question like, "What do you think about this?" and I'm like, "Yes, I believe all of it." Whatever. I don't know. The more I learn, the less I know. I've been lucky enough to be able to learn a whole lot of stuff, and then jumble it all together and come to my own conclusions, which is amazing. So,
You want?
uh,
Can I tell you what my favorite, I guess, description of heaven I ever heard was from Edgar Casey. You're familiar with him, right?
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, yes.
So one of the questions someone asked him one time was, "So could you describe what heaven is like to us?" And his answer was kind of interesting. He said, "It's a lot more complicated, and I think the way he put it was, imagine Times Square times infinity. It's very
Okay,
complicated. There's a lot of people. There's stuff going on. There's
sounds hectic.
problems. There's solutions. It's hectic. It's complicated. You think your life is complicated here? Wait till you see what's on the other side. It's really just complicated.
I don't
That's
want to think of it like that though. That sounds terrible.
But imagine if heaven turns out to be like this giant super city of like a bajillion souls and like different aliens and humans and there's all these issues and drama and problems. I was like, you know what? What if heaven it really is that case? That would be crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who's to say that hell is not here on Earth already? I don't know. I don't know. Um, I think I've probably known many lifetimes over. I've figured it out, and then I get amnesia again, and I come back here one more time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, you guys don't have any stories of Bigfoot out of Korea, do you? Because I know China has the urine. What
Yeah,
does
China
Korea have?
does. We don't really because Korea's not really big enough. It's not really set up that way. There's no real like major forests. There would be no place for Bigfoot to be. So yeah, there's not really Bigfoot stories. It's mostly like ghosts and demon stories, some UFO stories, uh, sea stuff like sea monsters and stuff like that. But
Oh, sea monsters.
if you want those
Yeah.
Asian Bigfoot stories, I would say China and Southeast Asia's got some. Southeast Asia's got some interesting ones.
Okay, well, I all I know about is the urine, and I do believe I think I pulled up a picture. Perhaps I do have one of something similar. It looks like the urine. It almost
Yeah,
looks like a just a hairy human to me personally, but that's they actually have big statues of the urine all over China and stuff. So it's very well known over there. But yeah. And also, in Vietnam, they have the rock apes. I had my friend
very
Bob
famous
O'Kelly.
case. Yes.
Absolutely. My friend Bob O'Kelly from my hometown, he's good friends with my family. I brought him on my daytime show. And when he was a young man, he was like 21, I think, he was drafted to go to Vietnam to go fight in the war. And on his third night of being there, a third day of being there, he was in the jungles fighting, literally just terrified. Okay.
Mhm.
And just from his troop, his company had just killed a tiger right before he got there. There were a lot of, not only was he fighting the enemy or whatever, he was also having to deal with the tigers. And then he ended up getting pelted with rocks by rock apes while they were there. And one of them actually ran out of the woods. It was kind of stalking them one night. He unloaded his gun on it and shot at it, and it ran off and it flipped over his commander in a hammock on the way out. So it's a
Hmm.
really interesting story. I might even get him to come on Space Out Radio one night if he'll stay up this late and tell his
Vietnam's got a
story.
lot of Vietnam's got a lot of crazy paranormal stories. Almost every Vietnamese
Yeah.
person I know has like some kind of weird either family curse or possession story in the family. Yeah, they're really. Yeah, Vietnam is an interesting place. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, there's very dense jungles there too, and
Hmm.
there's a lot that could be hiding in those jungles. Things that we didn't know existed. And honestly, Donnie, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like sometimes I wake up, like I've woken up, I've awakened into another dimension. Like there's so many new animals and cryptids and things I've never heard of that are just kind of showing up out of nowhere that I keep seeing online. And maybe there's a lot of CGI going on these days, but I don't know. There's no veil anymore between our world and the next, I don't think. And I've seen a lot of new weird cryptids and or just
I say let him
animals.
come. Let him come. Let's get
Yeah, well, they're
weirder.
here.
Yeah,
They're here. So,
I'm ready for
but
the next batch. I want
yeah.
I want praying mantis man.
Oh, I've actually kind of seen
Yeah.
one of those in real life, actually. So it was an ET. Yeah, I've actually had up close and personal encounters with ETs within a few feet, maybe 2 feet of
Mhm.
me, actually. So, yeah, I've seen ETs up close more than I have Bigfoot,
Mm.
which is wild since I'm a Bigfoot field researcher. But I've had more close contact with ETs. But you know, it's all kind of a part of it. I think this is so interconnected in a lot of ways. Once you're open up to one of these things, you're kind of opening yourself up to all of it, and that's just being open to your spirituality, to your psychic abilities. Once you open up your psychic aperture, I guess you could say, things start coming towards you. And it may just be that it's always been there and you just weren't able to see it before. I don't know. It's one of those mysteries of the universe. But it's a cool one. It's pretty cool. But it's
It
important
is.
if you're going to tap into all of this stuff that we're tapped into, Donnie, and everybody that's watching tonight, and it's going to be watching this video. We're all, once you're open to all of this, you're open to one thing. You're probably most likely going to be open to all of it, and so
You
just
have
to
to
be
accept the
prepared.
possibility that becoming interested in this topic might put a target on your back. You know,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you'd call it a target. I guess you could. Yeah.
it might get some spirits very interested in you, is what I'm saying. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
they
You're
might
like a
notice they're
bright
like,
light.
oh, this person here's a Space Out Radio fan. Let me
Spaced
see
out
what's going
radio.
on with this guy.
Yeah, this is a great
Yeah.
point, Zach. Thank you. The Mandela effect. That's right. We're hearing more and more of Mandela effects every day. I mean, people still send them to me. It's gotten to be more than I can make a list on of. I mean, yeah, that's what I think too. Did I change dimensions again? My friend Tanya Braddock and I were talking about that yesterday. Sometimes you'll notice, or I've noticed, I check my emails more regularly now. I check my phone more regularly now than I used to. Because people started complaining I wasn't returning my messages and things, and so I'm trying to be better at that. And I noticed that I checked today, and there were a lot of messages that came in 3 days ago that I didn't see 3 days ago, and I've been checking my emails every day, all I can say is I think I just switched dimensions. I mean, seriously to goodness, Donnie, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy like that, but I was thinking, well, either I just really missed these somehow, or I've gone into another timeline. So I don't know. That's not my excuse now. Look, if I don't get back to y'all with all my messages, it's not because maybe I did switch
Every now and
dimensions. I don't
then,
know.
the universe throws us one of those little monkey wrenches that makes you
That's
think, okay,
right.
we really are
Yeah.
just all in a video game, aren't we?
Yes. You know what's really cool though is that we're noticing it now and we're picking up on it now. Did this always happen? Have we always changed dimensions? Have we always jumped timelines? Is this something that's always happened? And now we're just all it's coming into the collective consciousness now? Donnie, what do you think?
Um, so before I got into the paranormal, I was like a real big video game nerd. And I
Okay.
think one of the initial reasons why I got so into the paranormal was that it made me realize that we are just characters in a video game, aren't we?
We're
That's all
NPCs,
we
like you
are.
said. Yeah.
We're just characters in a video game. Okay, so ghosts, for example, they're the glitches, right?
They are a
Aliens,
glitch.
they're
Yeah.
like the people from like outside the server who are like hacking into our game. That's what aliens are, right?
Yeah.
If you look at Jesus, what is Jesus? He's like the guy with the high score. You ever walk by the arcade machine and they show like 1,000,000 points? Oh man, he's got the best score ever. That's Jesus, right? The
Okay.
Bible is the strategy guide on how to play the game to get that high score, right? And maybe the
Okay.
next second high score would be like the Buddha or something, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I got so into the paranormal. The more and more I realized that it's like psychic people and spiritually advanced people, what they represent, they're the people who are slowly realizing we're just in a video game.
Exactly. We're the
Like I
glitch in the
figured out even
matrix.
with like angels and
Yeah.
demons, right? Demons are basically former employees who are disgruntled, who are trying to like mess up the game, right? And
Yeah. They
angels
had a
are like
bad
the
past
system
life.
moderators. They're like the blue wrenches. They're trying to keep everything in order.
Yeah. Putting people in timeout. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. That's wisdom right there, honestly, Donnie, in my opinion, is knowing that first of all, we're just all players in a game. And we're all here to learn lessons and to be the main character in our own play, and all the NPCs around us. Like, I mean, we're not all here to be
Yeah.
angels and stuff. Some of us are here to be the wrench in the engine, so to speak, for other people's lives. And
Hmm.
listen, I have some great villains in my life. The people who have been horrible to me have done a great job. They deserve a round of applause. Okay. Like for real. When this life is over, I'm going to give them a big old high five on the other side because they've done great. And I've had the opposite. I've had the wonderful people in my life as well. So we have one question here in the audience, in the chat tonight. Is
Okay.
there a missing 411 in Korea? Are there clusters of missing people in, let's just say, South Korea? Okay, do you know?
Yeah, there are. However,
Okay.
usually it's because of North Korean double
I know.
agents.
I wasn't going to go there. After yeah. That's why I said
We are
South
pretty
Korea.
sure who's taking them.
Right.
There's no,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So it's a little different.
it's a
Absolutely.
little different over there.
Yes. Yeah, we don't want to live in Grand Theft Auto over here, though. Oh my gosh, that GTA boy, that's not the. It is kind of like we do live in GTA sometimes.
We
Some
kind
of
of
us
do.
do, and
In
and
fact,
we
real life
create our
might
own
actually be
reality.
more disturbing than GTA if you think about it.
It is. Sometimes it
Yeah.
is. But here's one thing that I can say: we do create our own realities, and that's why it's so important for us to all get our vibrational frequencies on the right frequency. Like get high vibe tribe, okay, and so that we're able to notice these things. We can see the Mandela effects. Be the main player in your own play. You're the main character in your own play, and take that role seriously, okay, and just have fun. We can change our reality at any time. It's like we just, and sometimes I wonder who's pushing the button to change the program in my life, or just as a whole. But it is like the Matrix. The Matrix is a documentary, right? So, in my opinion, yeah, that's why I have my show on every Wednesday at 1 p.m. It's called A Glitch in the Matrix. And I bring on interesting guests. We talk about being the glitch in the Matrix, because that's what we all are. And everybody watching the show tonight, you guys are the glitch in the Matrix as well. So, yeah, let's just having the ability to notice when things are off is key, I think. So, yeah. Well, Donnie, any other cryptids out of Korea and out of Asia you can think of? I mean, because a lot of what I see, like movie wise, it's really creepy, like girls with their hair in their face, like
Hmm.
crawling on the ceiling and stuff, which is very psychologically scary. So they have, I've seen some psychological thrillers. Um,
Yeah, it's mostly ghost stuff.
yeah.
Oh, I could tell you who they consider to be the scariest ghost or the craziest one. The code red. Like, if you see this manifestation, that's a code red. Okay.
Okay.
They call it the egg ghost.
The egg
Okay.
ghost. Okay.
Yeah. The reason why it's called the egg ghost is it's basically it's a full body apparition, right? But the
Okay.
face is like clear and shiny, like the surface of an egg. Just the
Okay.
face. But you can see their clothes and you can see their
Oh.
body, right? Sometimes even the hair. But the surface of the face, it just looks like you're just staring at an egg, hence the egg ghost. And according to shamanic lore, if you see that particular manifestation, that is basically someone's about to die.
Okay, when you see Humpty Dumpty, you're about to die. Be careful.
That's the one they all fear.
That's yeah, that sounds really creepy. It's like an old wives' tale or something. Like when you see the egg face.
Yeah. And the reason why
it's not funny.
the
I'm
egg
sorry.
ghost is because there's a concept in their lore where the reason why the egg ghost exists, it's a ghost that is about to die its second death. Because they explain that a ghost can actually die. It's not easy for it to do, but it can happen. And the way to actually make a ghost die its second death is if there are no remaining living blood relatives living.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
If all of that is gone, the ghost dies its second death. And before it dies its second death, it manifests as the egg ghost, and its only sole purpose is to take another life before it's snuffed out.
That's kind of sad. That's very sad. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this has been awesome, Donny. I think we've covered some really interesting paranormal stories, and thank you so much for joining me tonight. Now, where can people find you when you do your shows during the week?
So I'm on every Wednesday, I guess 9 Eastern on Bigfoot Michigan Rob's channel or Texas Front Porch channel. We're on a show called Jason Mclean Questions Everything, not Chases Everything. Jason Mclean Questions Everything. We show together. We talk about a lot of really interesting stuff. We have a laugh. We have a good time. You've been there, Jessica.
I've done it. I've been there.
Yeah.
Yes. I was a part of. Yes.
It's a good old time.
I'm trying to type this up. Yeah.
Sometimes we'll just sit there and just talk about movies. Sometimes we'll just sit there and talk about food.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, please go subscribe to Texas Front Porch and watch Jason Mclean Questions Everything. I've been on there several times myself. I used to have a show at Texas Front Porch, and they're a lot of fun. And you guys have a great show. Jason is awesome. You're awesome, Donny. And I really do appreciate you being here tonight. I hope you'll come back and hang out with me some more on Spaced Out Radio in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm more than happy to come back. Please.
Awesome. Yeah, okay, well, we're going to have you back. And thank you for sharing all your wisdom with us tonight. I really appreciate it. Okay. We'll see you next time, Donny. Have a great Easter if you celebrate it.
Happy Easter.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, Donny. All right. Donny's awesome, y'all. Don't forget that right after this show, After Hours has a great program. They are about to go live in about 1 minute. Okay. Tomorrow night, I have Barry Littleton coming on the show. We're going to be talking about shape-shifting Sasquatches and the walking tree phenomenon. Now, this is going to be mind-blowing, crazy information. He and I have been talking about this for a little while now, and we have some really good stuff to present to you guys tomorrow night. So please come join us, 10 p.m., and we're going to have a great time there. But for now, I'm the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. I'm headed off the trails. I will see y'all next time.